Completing service plans for kinship service placements using signs of safety, presented by the Kinship Services team at Family and Children Services of Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington.
Our case example will center around 7-year-old Alex. At the time that our agency became involved with Alex and his family, Alex was living in an apartment with his dad, Brett, Brett's girlfriend, and her son, and their 4 dogs. Brett's mother had passed away 2 years ago after a long battle with chronic illness. Brett's landlord had attended the apartment unexpectedly late in the evening after many failed attempts to communicate with Brett. The landlord called the police due to the child protection concerns they observed in the apartment. The police contacted our agency with the concerns related to neglect, substance abuse, and suspected intimate partner violence between Brett and his girlfriend. Brett agreed to contact his parents about providing care to Alex. A kinship service worker was assigned as it was understood that the placement would need to be longer than 30 days. The grandparents agreed to participate in a kinship service assessment and accept ongoing support of a kinship services worker. This is a genogram of Alex's family. We complete genograms in order to have an understanding of a child's family network. Alex is shown here in red. His father is Brett and his mother is Jill. Jill passed away 2 years ago after a long battle with illness. Alex had not seen his mom in several months before she passed away, given the severity of her illness. Mom knew that she was dying and did not want Alex to have negative memories of her. Alex has had no contact with his maternal grandparents. Alex's father, Brett, has 3 siblings, Jack, Allison, and David. Jack has had no contact with Brett. They had a falling out several years ago related to Jack's frustration with Brett's ongoing struggles with addiction. Alex has never met Jack. Allison lives with her partner and their 3 children about 3 hours away from Alex's home community. Allison spends time with Alex during family gatherings over the holidays. David passed away 5 years ago due to a medical condition. Brett's parents are Fred and Martha, and they have been Brett's main source of support since he began caring for Alex full-time. Prior to Alex's placement with them, Fred and Martha were caring for Alex days at a time, whenever Brett expressed that he needed a break.
Why we do service plans. Service plans are agreements which provide a framework and focal point for services to children and youth when placed with alternate caregivers in kinship placements. Kinship services workers gather information from the child or youth, birth parents, kin caregivers, family network, community supports and services, child protection workers, First Nations, Inuit, Métis bands, or community members. Service plans are completed in CPIN or other agency databases. Service plans are completed following the placement of a child or youth in a kinship placement and are completed 30 days following placement, 3 months following placement, 6 months following placement, and every 6 months ongoing. Service plans are completed to ensure consistency and accountability and that the safety, permanency, and well-being of the child or youth is at the forefront. Service plans help identify community services to support the kinship placement and focus on and celebrate the strengths and positive things for a child or youth. To create a service plan, the kinship services worker uses the information gathered from the individuals previously noted to develop objectives, activities, and the summary and analysis, which will be shown more throughout this presentation.
The kinship service worker seeks information from a variety of sources connected to the child in order to have a clear understanding of the child's needs and experiences. The child protection worker connected to this family shared that she had met with Brett since the referral and removal and placement of Alex with his paternal grandparents. Dad shared that he had been evicted from his apartment and was now homeless. He shared the name of his girlfriend with the child protection worker, who learned that Dad's girlfriend had a long history with our agency as it pertains to the parenting of her son. Dad shared that he had recently been charged with a break and enter. Due to the severe neglect of the home, the family dogs had been sent to the SPCA. Dad described himself as having a long history with substance abuse. The child protection worker shared that though Dad did not acknowledge it, there appeared to be intimate partner violence in his relationship with his girlfriend. During the kinship service workers' first interview with Alex's grandparents, Fred and Martha, they verified the information that was collected from the child protection worker. They shared that they were unaware of the severe neglect of the home and had feelings of guilt for having never insisted to Dad that they be able to see his apartment. They shared that Dad had a long history of drug addiction after being prescribed an opiate following an accident many years ago. They shared that there had been several attempts made by their family to help Brett stabilize his life. They suspected that Brett's relationship with his girlfriend was unhealthy, and they had heard rumors in the community about his girlfriend's past with child welfare and addictions issues. Fred and Martha were also able to share some additional concerns they had. They indicated that they were unaware of whether Alex had seen a dentist or a doctor, and they commented on Alex's personal hygiene needing to be addressed. Behaviorally, Fred and Martha described Alex as having regular tantrums whenever he was told no. They described Alex's tantrums as instances when Alex would scream, swear, roll on the floor, and stomp his feet. Fred and Martha shared that these behaviors seemed odd to them given Alex was 7 years old. They would be interested in additional support around parenting Alex. Fred and Martha spoke at length about the loss of Alex's mother, Jill. They shared that they had supported Jill even after her relationship with Brett had ended. They had driven Jill to many of her doctor's appointments prior to her being hospitalized. They were emotional in describing how Alex had been affected by the death of his mother and how Jill had chosen to not see Alex for the last year of her life in an attempt to protect him from remembering her ill. The family spoke of their faith and how their faith community had offered support to Alex. They shared that Alex often speaks about his mother. Fred and Martha described Alex as being deeply loyal to his dad, and they suspected that Alex had been coached not to speak to others about what was happening in the home. They shared that Alex rarely says anything about Dad that could be considered negative, which makes them worried that the agency and their family will not have a clear picture of Alex's experiences. Fred and Martha reported that Alex is very comfortable in their home and has stayed with them for days at a time before.
Three Houses is a signs of safety tool that is used to gather the voice of the child or youth. Through conversations with the child or youth, the worker asked a variety of questions that engage the child or youth in identifying things in their life they feel positive about, things they are worried about, and what their hopes and goals are. This information can then be used in the development of service plans and case planning. In this specific case scenario, Alex's kinship services worker used appreciative inquiry to ask Alex a variety of questions to help elicit positive things, worries, and hopes and goals. The following slides will explore Alex's three houses.
Appreciative inquiry questions were used to discuss with Alex whether there was anything in his life that was making him feel worried, sad, or scared. Here's what Alex shared.
I'm worried that my dad is gonna keep doing drugs and he'll go to jail. I don't want to go to school because no one likes me there. I don't want my dad and his girlfriend to keep on fighting because just in case if she leaves, I'll never see her again. I'm worried that about my dogs. They went to a pet hotel.
As part of Alex's Three Houses interview, he was asked questions related to things going on in his life that were making him feel good and happy. Here's some of the things that Alex shared.
I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. My grandma makes the best cookies. Visits with my dad are good. He comes to my grandma's to see me. I love seeing Aunt Allison and Uncle Jack. I got to play with my cousins at the cottage.
As part of Alex's Three Houses interview, he was asked questions about his wishes and dreams. Here's what Alex shared.
I wish I can see my mom in heaven. I want to become a YouTuber. I hope my dad doesn't go to jail for taking drugs. I want my dad to get a house with a pool. My dad's girlfriend stops using drugs so he isn't as mad. My dad's girlfriend's son can move back at home.
The summary and analysis of the service plan is used to document more detailed information which has been gathered by the kinship services worker. The information in the summary and analysis often helps identify what specific objectives and activities are needed. The template shown is one that has been adapted from another agency in the province. It focuses on major domains in the child's life, including their identity, education and development, physical and mental health, their relationships with their family, kinship caregivers and their peers, permanency planning, worker supports, and the child's views. Please pause on this slide and the next if you wish to read the information contained in the summary and analysis for Alex. Objectives are unique and specific goals which are developed to meet desired outcomes for children and youth in kinship placements. Based on the information gathered by the kinship services worker, the identified objectives for Alex's services plan include reunification, family relationships, education, medical and physical, and emotional and behavioral. Objectives are not limited to what are included in Alex's services plan and can include, but are not limited to, cultural and community identity, child development, reporting, training, social relationships, self-care, and custody. Activities are specific tasks or actions that are required to achieve the identified objectives. Some activities for Alex's services plan include family meetings to occur to discuss ongoing planning and the case trajectory regarding Alex and his family. Alex will have visits with his dad, which will be facilitated and supervised by his grandparents. Alex to have visits and contact with his Aunt Allison, uncle, and cousins. Kin Caregivers to contact Alex's school to determine how they can support him in his educational needs. Alex will receive routine medical and dental care. Alex and his Kin Caregivers will be supported by and participate in counseling and caregiving supports through the local mental health services.
It has been approximately 1 year since Alex's first Three Houses interview. We are happy to share that Alex received support at school and now has an IEP. He was able to participate in a literacy camp this summer and made some excellent progress. He has had consistent medical and dental care since the onset of his placement. Alex's family were able to come together through family group conferencing to discuss a permanency plan for him. He is now placed with his Aunt Allison and her family. Alex supported this planning and was clear with his family that visits with his dad are very important to him. At present, visits between Alex and his dad have been consistent and positive. With the support of a kin services worker, Allison initiated children's mental health supports for herself and Alex. Alex can use his voice to talk to the adults in his life about his wants and needs. The information that Alex provided in his Three Houses interview was imperative to the success of forming a thoughtful and inclusive service plan for him and his family.
Thank you from the Kinship Services team at Family and Children's Services of Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.